Hi there, my name is Mr. Lewis. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Deputy Head Teacher at Upton School, and one of my roles is the Teaching and Learning Head of School. This video is for current parents of our school, which is about knowledge organisers. It might be a phrase or a word you've heard before. It's a little bit of information about how we use them at school and how we could see them being used at home to help support your child's academic progress in a number of subjects. So just to give you a little bit of information about the school, we are a large two-form entry school. We've got 418 children on roll. We take children from areas outside of the village, as well as children from inside the village as well. And you'll see along the bottom is our vision, a love of life, love of learning, love of one another. And so this video is sort of heavily revolved around that love of learning, because we want children to know more and remember more information, which comes from the word knowledge. Now, all of the things in our curriculum, all of our drivers are these four core values: love, respect, perseverance, and truthfulness. I have done a video which is on our website all about our curriculum, which explains this in a bit more depth. And it also explains this slide in a bit more depth about how we teach. Unfortunately, at the moment, we can't have parents and carers and families into many lessons because of COVID. Hopefully, once that we're in a position where we can do that, we would like to invite parents in so you see how we teach and how children learn, because it is very different now. But I want to concentrate here on the box at the bottom right, which says retrieval practice. So we aim for our children to know more and remember more, and we aim for them to retrieve information quickly so it's in their long-term memory. And one of the ways we achieve this is what's called a knowledge organizer. So it says that knowledge organizers are at hand and constantly referred to during lessons. So what is a knowledge organizer? If you've got no idea, this is an example of a reading knowledge organizer. So this is a reading knowledge organizer for Bright Storm, which is a book we read in Year 5. And quite simply, a knowledge organizer is a one-side A4 document which contains the information that we want children to remember. So they all look slightly different. So I'll show you some examples in a moment of the history, geography, science. They all look slightly different, but they also all have some similarities, which is they contain the knowledge, the vocabulary that we want children to know and remember. So for example, you can see here there's about 15 to 20 words that children will learn whilst they're reading Bright Storm. And they're quite often words which are not your everyday language. So it's very unlikely, for example, that children are going to use the word dwelling or gangplank or debris too often. So we're looking for words and language which is going to broaden their understanding of language. It's a big, big feature of our school now, language and vocabulary being taught every lesson, being explicitly taught. And new words, not words which are your everyday language. So you can see here we've got important information about the plot, about the setting, a bit of background information about this book, and then the main characters and the context of the book. And then in the middle, what it teaches us and some key quotes from the book. So we are trying to sort of gather all the key information on one page. And the idea behind these documents is that this information becomes essential to children's understanding of the book. Or if I show you one in a moment on a different topic, that information becomes essential to understanding that unit. So it's a way of ensuring that children all have the required information to make sense of that sequence of lessons or unit that's being taught. So there's an example of a reading one from in Key Stage 2. This is an example of a Year 2 reading one. So you can see slightly less information on the page, so less words, because children are not quite yet able to handle the number of words that a Year 5 child could hear, but very similar in the sense that we've got information about the plot, information about the theme, the setting, the context of the book, as well as the language. And again, this is language which is not everyday language. Very rarely would a Year 2 child see the word apartheid or segregation. So we're trying to teach them new words which are going to help them later on in our curriculum. It's also then got a bit about the context of the story. So this journey to Joburg is set in South Africa during the times of the apartheid. So it's key information. And the way we use these in school are that they're used on what we call a little and often approach. So we won't spend masses of time looking at a page like this. What we might do is spend 1 or 2 minutes per reading lesson, just quickly trying to remember key things, remembering those meanings of those words, remembering the plot, remembering the context of the story, because if children don't remember the context of when that story is set, some of the activities that happen within the book might not make sense. Okay, so there's a couple of reading examples. This one's a science one. Okay, so this is a year 5 materials science one. So you've got some key words down there on the left. So again, they are not words that we hear too often. You know, very rarely would we see or use words opaque or man-made in terms of everyday life. And then what you also see in the science ones are the 8 key pieces of knowledge. Sometimes we call them the big ideas, the key knowledge. And these are important. And we expect children by the end of this unit, so a typical unit would be somewhere between 6 to 7 weeks, we expect children to remember these 8 things. And that's because the next time they come across this topic, which in this case is materials, they're going to need to know these 8 key things. To give you an example, in year 3, we study forces, and there are 8 key things we want children to learn in that forces unit, because they come back to forces in year 5. And if in the year 5 unit, they don't have those 8 key pieces of knowledge, they will then find the year 5 unit challenging. So those 8 key pieces of knowledge are important. We have completely changed the way we teach. So we teach in a way now where we expect children to remember and know more. So we change things and we quiz children. We do retrieval activities. We want to find out exactly what they have in their long-term memory, not in the working memory. So we want children knowing more and remembering more. So this is an example of a year 5 science one. You've got the language across the top. This is a year 6 one. So this is evolution. So again, you can see down the left-hand side, the language we expect them to know in this one. So we've got words like characteristics, evolution, fossils, offspring, species. And then on the right-hand side, you've got the box which says the key information. So these are the key things we need children to leave this unit knowing. And as well as that, then some of our knowledge organisers across the top, you've got where this has come from and where it might be heading to next. So you can see how plants turns into living things and the habitats turns into evolution. So it's a really sort of, we try to make them look child friendly. So you can see for a child, it's quite an interesting, stimulating page to look at. But the idea is that over the 6 to 7 weeks, children learn as much of that page as possible, particularly the language and the key information. This is an example of a geography one. So this is a year 1 one. So you can see there's much less information on the page here compared to the year 6 one because of the maturity levels and the academic levels of at that point in school. This one's a geography unit where we're looking at here and there. So that's a comparison between where we live and a bigger place. So for our unit, we look at Upton St Leonards, and then we look at Gloucester, you know, and so Gloucester being a city, Upton St Leonards being the village within the city. And so you've got that language again down the left. So we want children to learn words like village, city, country, map, and so on. And then we've also got some quiz questions. So these are designed again to help children remember more information. So we regularly come back to these questions so children should know the answer and can retrieve it straight from their long-term memory. It also then tells you some of these where they'll go next. So for example, next thing for year 1 will be to learn about cities, learn about the continents, and learn to use a map as well. So you can see how it builds with each unit. This is an example of a year 3 and a year 4 knowledge organizer in terms of geography. So the year 3 one on the left is to do with mountains, volcanoes, and earthquakes. The one on the right is to do with rivers. So again, you can see the vocabulary, you can see the key knowledge that we want children to learn. So on the left, you've got the structure of the earth and how volcanoes erupt. And then on the right, we've got things to do with the river and labeling of the river. And how erosion and transportation happens, as well as the language. Some of these knowledge organisers are ones we've created in school. Some are ones we have as part of our schemes of work. So some of them have been done by teachers, some have been done by people external to the school, but they all fit exactly what we want our children to learn. So that gives you a bit of an idea about them. If you've never heard of the term, hopefully over the next few months you will, because children should be using these regularly. And we take what we call that little and often approach. Now, the idea here, the best way to use knowledge organisers is to regularly quiz children. So we will be sending home a knowledge organiser at the start of every unit. So for example, 6 times a year at the start of each half term, your child might come home with an A4 or A3 version of a geography, science, history, knowledge organiser. And we would like the ideal way we feel is that these are put up somewhere at home, such as a notice board, a fridge door, a bedroom wall, somewhere where children regularly walk past or visit. And the aim is that they just constantly see it. And the more times they see it, the more times they read it, the more times they get questioned on it, the more chance that information is going to go into the long-term memory. And so one of the ways we do it in school is that we quiz children. So we'll just regularly quiz, what we call low stakes quizzing. So it's not important big tests, nothing like that, just regularly quizzing children. How many can they get right out of 5? How many can they get right out of 3? What does this word mean? What's the definition for that word? Just that kind of constantly going back. And if we do that regularly, and we're not asking for huge amounts of time, 1 or 2 minutes a day will make an enormous difference with trying to put information into long-term memory. It can help children with new language. So as we've said, as I've just said several times, we are trying to push the language children use. So it's a very high level subject specific language. It's not your everyday words. And we encourage and celebrate when knowledge has been retained. And if you can do that at home as well, children will start to see how the benefit of it, because then the praise, if we all know if children get praise for things, they're more likely to repeat that behavior. And so I've put at the end there to try and be positive. The more positive we can be with children, the more we can celebrate success, the more they're likely to want to do it by themselves as well. But we certainly, with knowledge organisers, wouldn't be encouraging children and parents to be spending large amounts of time learning them. It's about little and often, and just regularly quizzing children, have they learned those key 5 or 8 facts on the knowledge organiser? Because in some subjects, that knowledge will become key as they move through the school. Slightly different maybe in reading, the reading knowledge organiser, because they're not going to read that book again. That knowledge organiser is specific to that book. But in subjects such as science, history, geography, and so on, that knowledge might become key in a year's time when they move on and study it in more depth, because our curriculum is what we call spiral, where children keep coming back to things over and over again over the 7 years. What you should start to see this academic year, 21-22, is that children are coming home with knowledge organisers for certain subjects. So at the moment, we're particularly pushing the science, geography and history. Our reading ones have been coming home for a little while already, hopefully. And they'll be sent home ahead of the unit, and then an electronic version will also be put onto Teams. So Teams was amazing for us in the lockdowns. Hopefully, we won't have to go back to it, but if we do, we're now fully set up and ready to go with it. So as well as a paper copy, there's also one on Teams. So please, you've got access to it, whether it's electronic or paper. I know sometimes paper things with children don't always find their way home. And we've also put the knowledge organisers for some of the subjects on the website. So on our website, in the curriculum folder, there's a tab called Knowledge Organisers. Please go and have a look in there. They're not huge amounts of information, as I've shown you. They're only sort of one side of A4. And they're quite stimulating and hopefully quite exciting for children to look at. So there's graphics and visuals to help children understand, but we are looking for children to remember that key language and key definitions in terms of knowledge, because if we can do that, they are going to be in a far better position to build on that as they go through the school and then ultimately into year 7 in Key Stage 3. Okay, thank you very, very much for listening. I hope that's given you a little bit of information about what knowledge organisers are and how we use them. As I said, we use them on a little and often basis, and we're trying to put as much information into the long-term memory as possible. So we're not trying to overload children. We're trying to give them the key information that they need that becomes essential to their understanding for that topic. If you have any questions, please speak to the class teacher, have a look on the website, or come and speak to me as a head of teaching and learning, and we will do our best to help. Thank you very much for listening, everybody.